This was the deadliest terrorist attack ever in Northern Ireland.
For 3 decades, Northern Ireland was a battleground.
Another gun battle in the streets of Belfast, proof that the IRA is not short of arms.
Catholic Republicans fought to create a united Ireland. Protestant loyalists fought to remain part of the United Kingdom. In 1998, the Good Friday Agreement sought to bring an end to hostilities. But 15 years on, Northern Ireland is still making the news for all the wrong reasons. Despite the benefits of being at peace, there are still people determined to pursue their political aims through violence. In the past 12 months, there's been an upswing in loyalist protests on one side and the formation of new dissident Republican groups on the other. I'm about to find out what happens when the two communities clash.
They're saying we can't walk down with a Union Jack flag, the flag of our own country. Well, you watch what our people do later on. Our people will not be taking us no more.
How Catholics react to Protestant marches.
I feel frightened, but I feel angry as well, because there's no reason why we should be imprisoned in our own homes.
The cost of policing this volatile situation. This is a piece of masonry that landed on an inspector and broke his leg. And I discover that for some Republicans, the war is still not over.
As long as Britain violates Irish national sovereignty, there will be people in this country who will resist that by whatever means necessary.
I want to find out what makes so many on both sides so unwilling to let go of the past. I've come to Belfast in the build-up to the marching season. I'm heading into town with Norman Riley, a Protestant taxi driver. Everywhere there are flags marking out Unionist and nationalist territory, and murals celebrating the paramilitaries.
This is us now, heading into the Shankill Road. And I say that the Shankill Road's a core of loyalty.
Well, already, look, I can see every lamppost has got a flag that says Britain to me, yeah?
They've always flown flags in the loyalist communities. That's a way of identifying the type of neighbourhood.
I'm surprised to find people still marking out their territory so blatantly. But I'm even more surprised by what Norman shows me next.
Now, you'll see here on my right, this is the peace line. So this is the wall.
This wall here, yeah?
And this wall separates Protestants from Catholics. There's actually, believe it or not, in and around 40 of these walls in Belfast.
Still?
Yep. There's more walls that have been built after the ceasefire than before.
So after the ceasefire, after the Good Friday Agreement, there have been more
walls have been built after. Because of sectarianism, they're building walls to separate communities. Now, this is the biggest one there is.
Yeah.
The longest, to prevent them throwing stones over.
Just stones?
Well, stones, maybe petrol bombs.
A 60-foot wall. What happens if it was taken down tomorrow?
Take it down tomorrow, there could be trouble here by that night or by the weekend.
The wall stretches for half a mile. Norman agrees to take me to the Catholic side, accessed through a steel gate, open by day and locked at night. Those gates aren't as high as the fence, though.
No,
but
there's camera. There's a steel pole to the right, and there's a big camera that monitors the gates. Obviously linked to the police station. So now this is the Catholic neighbourhood we're in.
In 1969, this street was burned down by a loyalist mob and 1,500 Catholics lost their homes. It was one of the events that started the Troubles. So, obviously, the phoenix being symbolic, yeah?
Phoenix rising out of the ashes, being reborn. Bombay Street never again. Living in Belfast as a teenager, you know, it was very hard not to get involved to a certain extent. I mean, I'm standing here now in the Catholic area, and at one stage when I was 15, 16, I was over that side throwing stones into here. Yeah. And now I'm actually here showing visitors around. All right, Tom? All right, mate,
come in, mate, come in. Tom's a mate of yours.
Tom's a
Catholic.
Catholic taxi driver, yep.
Hey,
he does the tours also.
Ross, how are you?
Yeah, I'm all right, mate.
Yes, I do the tours.
Oh, he does the
as
tours as well. Not saying his tours are better than mine, like, but he's learning. You know, he's learning.
Why are there now more walls since the Good Friday Agreement?
If you actually, I always say to people, if you take the name of them, they're called peace walls. They're designed to keep the peace between the two communities. So the only time that the wall will come down is when the people feel safe enough in these areas that the wall can come down. And when they request that it gets taken down, that's when
and that presently, that's not the situation.
It's not happening. You know, you just don't feel safe. You don't feel safe.
One thing is needed in both communities is trust. A lot of trust needed.
If I went into a pub on the Shankill Road or he went onto a pub on the Falls Road, he just wouldn't trust the people who's sitting beside, and I wouldn't trust the people who I was sitting beside.
That's it.
You don't go for a beer when you knock off?
No, definitely not. Wouldn't do it. Wouldn't even contemplate it.
It's crazy, and we'll have to break down all those barriers. As he says, it's a trust issue.
15 years after the Good Friday Agreement, I'm surprised to find there is still so much fear and mistrust. And I want to find out what lies behind it. I've heard there are Republican groups still fighting against the British state. I head out of town towards the Irish border and try to make contact with them. We've just arrived in Derry, London Derry, depending on how you want to say it. And if it wasn't for the fact that I can see an IRA daubed on the city walls up there, you could be fooled into thinking that you were somewhere in the south of France. In 2013, Londonderry is the UK's first city of culture. And on the surface, it appears much like any other regional European city. But according to MI5, the threat of attack from dissident Republicans in Northern Ireland is higher than the threat from Islamic extremists. I'm heading to the city's main police station to find out how big a threat they pose. British troops may have left Northern Ireland, but the police here still have to be prepared for frequent paramilitary attacks. Look at the outside of the police station. A bomb went off here. That's why these walls are so thick now. That's why there is a 12-foot steel gate with wire on top of that to stop rocket-propelled grenades from getting into the police station. There's still shrapnel embedded into the brick walls on the shops opposite. In charge of policing Londonderry is Chief Superintendent Stephen Martin. Out of the mosaic of armed Republican groups, a new threat has emerged in the last 12 months.
A lot of us are not going to understand. There was the real IRA, there was the IRA, and now there's the new IRA.
The previous factions were the real IRA, a Republican Action Against Drugs, which was a Derry sort of specific group, and a number of other individuals who were unaffiliated to an organisation but came into this new group called the new IRA, and they would be, I suppose, the most significant anti-peace group that exists within, probably within Northern Ireland, but certainly in Derry here.
What is the threat?
The threat is severe. We have seen gun attacks. We've seen a variety of bomb attacks ranging from undercar booby traps through to a larger vehicle-borne IED, improvised explosive device. The main target for those attacks would be police officers and police staff, although we have also seen these groups target some citizens. We've had a number of murders.
Dissident Republicans reject British rule. They want to turn the Catholic estates of Derry into a no-go area for the police. And they impose their own vigilante justice on the people who live there. They've claimed dozens of victims in so-called punishment shootings. Andrew Allen was one of them. He was 24 when he was shot dead in 2012. I've come to talk to his girlfriend Arlene and mother Donna.
Well, what were the circumstances around what happened? You were there.
I was there, and I looked out the window and seen somebody banging and banging at the door. And I seen the gun, and I shouted to Andy, there's somebody at the door with a gun. And as he jumped out of the bed, they shot through the window. They shot 4 shots, I think it was 4 shots through the window. There's blood everywhere, and I phoned 999 and they told me to try and get him on his back, but I tried and I was slipping in the blood, and I gave him CPR, but I knew he was dead.
Why do you think they killed Andy?
Andy was no angel, and I'm not going to sit and say he was an angel, but he didn't deserve what happened to him, you know.
Yeah.
But it was not what they said he was. They said he was just this big drug dealer, and he never had no money. You know, he lived off all of us, didn't he? Mm-hmm. He never had no money.
Who was it?
RAD was a group, Republican Action Against Drugs. That's what they said they were.
But the people that did it, do you believe them to have been Republicans?
Well, so-called Republicans, I would say.
Republicans, no.
I said they were rejects.
Do you have an idea who these people were?
Oh,
So you know who they are? Mm-hmm. And they're still moving about the community?
Yes.
Well, one's in jail.
One's in jail.
He's not in jail for Andy's murder, but he's in jail for a long time.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so...
But the other one is at liberty?
Yeah.
That must hurt as well, right?
Like he's left... He's 2 young kids now. One's 7 and one's 5. What do they do now, you know?
I'm in Londonderry, or Derry, as it's known amongst the largely Catholic population here, trying to speak to dissident Republicans who have recently stepped up their armed campaign against the British government. It's proving hard to find anyone who'll talk, but events take a surprising turn when we receive a tip-off about a police operation. We've just been told that there is a police raid going on as I speak in Marlborough Street, which is an area that is predominantly Catholic. We're on our way there now. Is it left? Yeah. And we're going to try and find out exactly what's going on. Armed police surround the house and clear the area. They are still under constant threat, and to identify them would put their lives at risk. The house just there on Monday was raided, and ammunition was found inside it. Subsequently, the police have returned. We don't know exactly why, and they won't tell us, but we have been told that explosive ordnance disposal are on their way, and they're going to have to block this area off. So we're going to see what's going to happen. Anywhere else in the UK, this kind of raid would be headline news. But it seems almost routine here. After an hour, they recover bags of potential evidence. I later discover that they've arrested 2 suspected dissidents and found guns and ammunition. Derry's dissident Republicans are apparently armed and dangerous. But I want to know what they're trying to achieve.
To get somebody to come out and actually talk about the armed struggle is proving nigh on impossible. And when you think just how much money British government and MI5 pile into this place to find out what's going on, to get informants, you can understand that if you're a genuine dissident, there's little interest in you talking to me, unfortunately.
After a week of negotiations, I finally managed to get an interview. Gary Donnelly is part of the 32 Counties Sovereignty Movement, a political organisation that rejects the current peace process.
The IRA volunteers were fighting for a 32-county Democratic Socialist Republic.
They haven't got that, have they?
They haven't got that. They've got nowhere near that. There's no sign of that. Sinn Féin haven't produced any strategy to say how they're going to achieve that. The IRA was fighting a war of liberation. It was, you know, it was fighting against the violation of Irish sovereignty. It wasn't about being equal within a British state, which is what we have now.
You know, in terms of the armed struggle, do you think that there is a possibility now of that ever occurring again?
15 years after signing the Good Friday Agreement, nearly 20 years after ceasefires, there's still munitions and people prepared to use them in this community.
Basically what we're saying is in rooftops or in the ground somewhere, there are a lot of guns and ammunition buried.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. You know, there's been weapons captured in the city recently. A lot of equipment that you would probably see in Iraq or Afghanistan used by insurgents in areas like this.
Republicans have been fighting the British for a united Ireland ever since Northern Ireland was created in 1921. During the Troubles, the IRA killed 656 British soldiers and over 600 civilians, according to the University of Ulster. Under the Good Friday Agreement, their political wing Sinn Féin agreed to end the killing in return for a place in government. For most people, the agreement has brought peace to the city. But for some, it's not enough.
My opinion is that if the causes for conflict remain, unless you remove that, you know, the reasons for the conflict, I think it's inevitable. I think it's both inevitable and unfortunate that we will condemn future generations to that conflict, that Anglo-Irish conflict.
So what you're saying is that even though there's been some peace for some time now, it could go back to the way it was, where the streets run with blood as they did here.
As long as Britain violates Irish national sovereignty, there will be people in this country who will resist that by whatever means necessary. And unfortunately, that is through the use of armed struggle.
Dissident Republicans are determined to carry on the fight for a united Ireland. But I'm about to discover that many loyalists feel equally let down by the peace process. Back in Belfast, it's marching season, a time when tensions come to a head. Earlier this year, loyalists mounted 3 months of protest when the council voted not to fly the Union flag permanently above City Hall. Many were angry at what they felt was giving in to Republicans and undermining their British identity. It's approaching the 12th of July, when Protestants march to celebrate the victory of William of Orange over Catholic King James at the Battle of the Boyne. Marching bands are wary of the media because they feel they've been demonised in the past. But the Shankill Protestant boys have agreed to let me film with them.
This way, Ross. Okay. Welcome. This is the SPB band practice, one of 2 weekly practices. You see the fluters here and the drummers here. We're going to play a tune for you if you'd like to sit down.
I will.
The tune is Minstrel Boy.
Gary Lenehan set up the band in 1980.
How long can you be in the band for? Forever?
Yeah, well, you're in the band. You're never out of the band. This band in particular, you never leave it. Once you're in it, you're in it for life. Then once you're in for life. And as you see...
Pipe in, pipe out,
your
drum
sons
in, drum
and your
out.
grandsons follow you on.
What do you think of the situation now, 15 years after the Good Friday Agreement?
When the Good Friday Agreement was signed, I mean, I voted yes, and I would say it's a given that 70% of the island voted yes. But that was on the basis that you were guaranteed to recognise your culture. But that's been flipped in its head. It's an onslaught of a cultural war now, and it's relentless. It's a 7-day week. Every single bit of my Britishness they're trying to erode.
What about the Catholic community here? I mean, how do you think they feel about the bands? Because it is a bit of a show of strength, isn't it?
No, it's not a show of strength. It's an expression of culture. You have 100 members of the band, and you take that tenfold out with their families, where they're all one big family. The band's your heart, the band's your life. All I want, as I said, and all we want as a band, is just to be left alone to express our culture.
Across the city, loyalists are building bonfires in preparation for the big day. On the Lower Shankill Road, 15-year-old Daniel and his mates are guarding supplies of fuel.
Your job, though, is what? Is to protect the pallets, yeah?
At night.
Why?
Because the RCA comes around and tries to burn them.
I mean the Catholics,
Catholics, aye, we have to sort them out.
Really?
Aye.
And have they ever tried to come around here and set fires to this lot?
Aye, a few times, like.
Tell me the significance of the bonfire.
I know, we just like having it now. I just grew up with it.
That's part of our heritage. We were brought up doing it. Something we've always done.
How important is it to you to maintain that heritage, as you say?
Our heritage is very important to us, because if Sinn Féin keep having their way, we'll be sold down the river quite soon.
But there's been peace for a number of years now, or theoretically.
That's what I was going to say, if that's what you want to call it.
If that's what you want to call it?
Yep.
Would you not agree with that?
No. They're still trying to kill policemen and prison officers, but still the IRA have a ceasefire. Nah, it doesn't work out right.
One of the things that people are saying is that the Loyalist community won the battle because Northern Ireland still exists, but the Catholic community lost the battle because it's not a united Ireland. Would you go along with it?
No. I feel like we're the ones who've lost the battle. We're the underdogs. No matter what they ask for and storm out to get, things keep going the way they're going. Say in 5 years, we'll be living under a tricolour.
Even after 15 years of relative peace, these loyalists are still fearful of Republicans taking over. But on the other side, many Republicans see loyalist parades as an expression of Protestant supremacy. One of the most contentious of these parades passes beside a Catholic area in North Belfast.
Can I come in?
Yeah.
I've come to Ardoyne to meet Catholic resident Anne Robinson.
Anne, I mean, you live here. The march just goes through the top of your road. I mean, what happens?
As you say, this is a quiet street, normally, until it comes around those 3 days, the 11th, the 12th and the 13th, and then it's bedlam.
What effect does it have on you personally?
I feel frightened, but I feel angry as well, because there's no reason why we should be imprisoned in our own homes. The Loyalists can march 365 days a year, as far as I'm concerned, as long as they do it in their own area.
Mm-hmm.
We don't walk into their areas to march, protest, be bigots, spit on people, go into the toilet in people's gardens, giving us the fingers, yelling, jeering, as they're marching up the road. So really, we are second-class citizens. As far as I'm concerned, we're being treated as second-class citizens.
In the past, protests against the march have become an opportunity for Republicans to attack the police with petrol bombs, missiles, and in 2012, a machine gun. To try and avoid conflict, an independent parades commission was set up in 1997 to decide where the parades can and can't go. This year, with just 2 days to go before the 12th, the commission announces a surprising determination. For the first time ever, they ban the march from coming back past Ardoyne. While I'm there, loyalists come out to voice their anger. The loyalist community starts there, and this side here is the Catholic or the nationalist community. And the Parades Commission has said that the loyalists can't march back up this road, and that's what that little demonstration is about. So what is going to happen on the day is the bands will come down this road, and there'll be some argument, some confrontation. But when they walk back up and they try to come back up this road, there is going to be a line of police with a lot of nationalists behind it and a lot of loyalists saying, we have always walked up this road on this day, and we will carry on walking up this road. We start throwing stones at each other. There we go, look, here comes a rock. Watch out, watch out.
We don't want to be triumphalist over anybody else. We want to live peacefully with our neighbours. So we do.
I just saw some example of that. They'll come from a stone scheme.
No, but we do, but you understand people's frustration, right? The Sinn Féin at the minute, their two most favourite words is shared space, right? Where's the shared space for the Protestant community in Northern Ireland? Right?
Well, what
particularly in Belfast.
You're allowed to walk down it, but you're not allowed to walk up it. I mean, that's what they're saying.
What's the difference?
They're saying there's 50-50. I suppose that's what they're trying to say.
It's not because it is completely wrong.
The police have just arrived here. You know that stones are being thrown. But this is 2 days before, and they're already demonstrating, so you can imagine what's going to happen on the 12th. It's the night before the 12th of July parade. Protestant loyalists are beginning their celebration of the defeat of the Catholics 300 years ago. There's a festival atmosphere, but also anger from two members of the Shankill Protestant Boys Band, Gary Lenihan and Davey Hagan. The fact that the Parades Commission are stopping you march back up the road, what does that mean to you?
The message the Parades Commission is sending out, and sending it out loud and clear, if you're law-abiding and do what you're told, we will take your parade away from you. If you riot, shoot at police and drop concrete blocks in police head, then you'll get what you want. That's the message that's being sent out.
That's how the community
That's not how you see it. It's plain in the nose of the end of your face. Violence pays.
It's the people who were peaceful for all the years who are being demonised here.
Yeah. There was violence for the last 2 years at Ardoyne, right? Yeah. The year before last, a policewoman had a breeze block dropped on her head from the shops.
Isn't that why? I'm not playing devil's advocate. I'm not supporting one side or the other, trust me.
No,
I'm just saying, isn't that why the Parades Commission, to prevent things like that happening, are stopping you march back up the road?
It's a war without bombs and bullets. It's a war against the
cultural
culture.
Apartheid.
It's an erosion of everything that's British in this country.
At the stroke of midnight across Northern Ireland, bonfires are lit. Each neighbourhood competes to build the biggest fire they can. Bonfires like this are being lit all over Northern Ireland tonight, and they're symbolic of the beacons that were lit to show King Billy, or William of Orange, show him his way in to the Battle of the Boyne, so he could fight and defeat James, who was a Catholic. The tradition of burning the Irish flag reminds loyalists of their victory. But I can't help thinking it's also an act of defiance from a community afraid of becoming part of a united Ireland.
We've just come from the bonfire, and the people that we've spoke to from the loyalist community are enraged about the decision not allowing them to march down this road. There's a bonfire burning already at the top of the road here now. Somebody said to me that it's the worst decision that's been made since the Good Friday Agreement, and tomorrow is going to be a very, very interesting day.
Across Northern Ireland, 550 marches are taking place, and 4,000 police are preparing for what lies ahead. This year, the police have requested over 600 extra officers from mainland Britain. I'm with the commander on the ground, Detective Inspector Graham Dodds.
A lot of anger seems to be because of it's the Parades Commission decision to stop the march coming back down that road. A lot of it is aimed at the PSNI.
The police, I suppose, like any force in the UK, get the brunt of a lot of decisions, but we don't take a part in the decision or in the politics. For us, we're there for everybody's safety. But yes, anger can be directed at us because we are the visible representatives of the state. Yes.
Of the establishment, yeah. Graham and his sergeant, who were driving us, are now in the vehicle. It's 7:05. We're setting off from the station now.
In 2012, this parade ended in 3 days of violence and shots fired at the police by a Republican gunman. But for Graham, it's important not to assume that violence is inevitable.
We're not riot police. We'd rather not use force. We're as much community officers as somebody on the beat, and that's something we're quite strong about. It might not look like it, but that's our intent. If I don't have to put that helmet on, to me it's a successful day.
We first head to Ardoyne, where the parade passes a mainly Catholic neighbourhood surrounded by Protestant and mixed areas. It will be allowed to go down to the city centre in the morning, but on the way back, the police have orders to stop it. When we get there, Catholic residents are already out protesting against the march. On the other side of the road, Protestants prepare to greet the parade.
The thing for me is, even though I'm a UK citizen, and there's been news reports since I was a child about what happens here, I've never really grasped the intensity of it. And the atmosphere, even though it's really early in the morning, it's still tangible virtually. The surreal thing again, is this is a suburban street.
Without warning, the tactical support group is called up to meet the parade.
Hey, let's move on through the house, guys! Stay on! Come on, guys! Get off the road!
The parade is only allowed to bring 100 followers. But it seems they've brought at least 5 times that. Detective Inspector Dodds has to comply with the Parade Commission's determination, but it could prove very unpopular.
Even though there is a threat of possible violence, we want to still try and have faith in these people. So as you can see, the officers here are stacked up at the side, but their shields are down, showing no threat. Plenty of community officers, and we're keeping it as low as we can. Okay.
The parade is led by the Orange Order, an organisation promoting Protestant solidarity. The police negotiate with them to reduce the number of supporters. But not everyone is in the mood for compromise.
They're saying we can't walk down with a Union Jack flag, the flag of our own country. Isn't this ridiculous? We can't walk down with any banners. Well, you watch what our people do later on. Our people will not be taking this no more. See their determination? We'll be on bad road. By hook or by crook, we'll be on bad road.
Right.
You know what I'm saying, don't you?
I understand what you're saying.
Right, get ready! Prepare to flank, face that way!
Half an hour later, the Orangemen agree to leave some supporters behind, and the band is let through. And you can see now that the police cordon at the top here has actually stopped some of the other people who were supporting the band and the Orangemen. They've actually stopped them from coming further down the road. The band is only allowed to play a single drum beat as they pass the Catholic neighbourhood. On the opposite side of the road, the band and their followers are met by a crowd of Protestant residents.
They're on their way.
They're on their way, so
did you count through 100? How many did you count?
I was watching both sides, so I didn't even bother to count. I was making sure nobody did anything to each other. Haven't got it
But
yet.
basically, they went past
Some
the outdoor
verbals, right.
community
Some
group,
verbals from both
and
sides.
nobody did anything. There
Some
were
verbals, no violence.
verbals, but
Yeah.
no stones, no bombs.
Not
no
that I saw, no.
In the centre of the city, the bands meet up to form a parade that goes on all day. But the police have orders to stop them marching back up one part of their traditional route. This is Woodvale Road, and this is the point where the Parades Commission has said that the march has to stop. It can't go any further from this point. But never in the history of all the time that they've been marching on the 12th of July have they ever been stopped from going up this road. A crowd gathers to wait for the Orange Parade to arrive. Here they come. For many loyalists, it's a matter of principle that they should be allowed to march on what they call the Queen's Highway. Orange Order leaders have called on supporters to protest against the ban.
Oh, here we go.
But the protest soon turns violent. As the crowd grows, the police helicopter helps to monitor the situation. Police strategy is to collect video evidence so they can make arrests later.
Cans, bottles, sticks. There have been some bricks now. The water cannon's coming down now. They're bringing the water cannon down. To disperse now, otherwise they're going to unleash with the water cannon. There you go, there it is, there's the arm there. There we go, It's the guys from the Shankill Boys Band. The guys from the Shankill Boys Band in the front. Here we go, look. Head down.
Come on, get him up! Get him up! Get him out of here! Get him out! Come on, get him back! Please stop public water first aiders, please. Urgent.
This is a piece of masonry that hit one of the inspectors and broke his leg.
One more officer down, they're unconscious. I'm starting to lose officers in the line. That's soon going to affect my ability to hold. Over.
With injuries increasing, Graham orders his men to escalate the response and start firing baton rounds.
This is one of the rounds that's been fired. And we've been told this is no different from being hit by a baton, like a baton like that. I slightly beg to differ. I wouldn't want one of those fired at me very close. So what's in that weapon there?
Reinforcements are brought forward to give officers on the front line a rest. As evening falls, there's no sign of the crowd dispersing.
Now it's getting dark. Locals are saying they're going to start throwing things a little bit more sophisticated than just bottles and rocks. Number of fireworks that just landed over there. There's another one there. Come on, go this way. It's now 11:05. I mean, situation now.
We're getting periodic missile attacks, farmer attacks. We just had a petrol bomb, so it's still tense. And obviously, we've taken a lot of casualties. I think we're sitting at 6, 7 officers injured, number in hospital.
How long, realistically, can this standoff go on for?
They've been days, they've been hours, they've been weeks. So we hope the community will work it out between themselves. But until that happens, we have a lawful job to do and have to do it. And it doesn't really matter how long it takes.
So whatever happens, you're staying?
Yep, we're staying.
The fact is, there's a standoff now, and it could go on for weeks. Look at the costs, I mean, in terms of the people who have been hurt. Look at the financial costs. And I can't help thinking one thing majorly. The money that's been spent today could be spent so much better bringing both sides of the communities together rather than what this has done, which has divided them further.
32 policemen were injured across Belfast that night. The rioting went on for 4 days. Policing this year's parades and protests has cost £28 million. During my time here in Northern Ireland, I've discovered just how passionately people here on both sides feel about their history and their identity. There are dissident Republicans who are willing and able to launch attacks in the pursuit of a united Ireland. And some loyalists believe their culture is being eroded and their voices aren't being heard by the British government. This volatile mixture threatens to derail the peaceful shared future that the majority of the people here signed up for.